Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard. E2247 is in the house, as well as Eric E2247 from everywhere. Of course, we also have Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We have Lee Grant from Montgomery County, Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia, Michael Rutnin from Brooklyn, New York, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Did I miss anybody that's here so far? Carl Cox is in the house. Seems like we got a call already. Let's go ahead and take it. You're on with Politics Done Right. How can I help you? Okay. I don't think anybody is on that side of the line. Let's continue. Let's continue. Anyway, folks, I'll start with E2247 with what's going on in Israel, the genocide that, and I know a lot of people don't like to call it that, but if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. We had people calling in yesterday saying, wait a minute, there was a genocide happening in the Donbas region of Ukraine because they bombed the smithereens out of these people. And I said, I don't know the true story about Ukraine, but I do know if you're going to call that a genocide, you got to be symmetric and call what's occurring in Gaza a genocide as well. So let's go ahead and read E2247's new update. Because E2247, this is justifiably his passion. And E2247, we thank you for keeping us aware of that information. We are 144,229 casualties so far. That's 371 per day. 12.8 months. It's an estimated 2.3 million people dead. That is an equivalent of 111 people killed every day. 79% are kids and women. Carl Cox is in the house. Welcome, Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. Okay, let's continue. Let's see what else we have here in the house. Para ver, Eric Hayes. I'm looking for items that I will read. You know, I only read things that I deem factual. If you come here with a right-wing kooky stuff, you won't get it read. NBC News, CNN bans conservative guest Ryan Zidorski for telling Muslim journalists, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. I saw that it was against Mehdi Hassan. And Mehdi said, are you threatening me? I mean, it comes so natural for MAGA to do that, right? They are the party of life. They are the party of honesty. They're the party of God. They're the party of Jesus. It's a fake. They're ministers. They're evangelical leaders. I'm not talking about the people themselves. I'm talking about the leaders that are leading the flock down a bridge to hell. Because of the nature of how evil these evangelical leaders are. They promote more hate than the most hateful atheists I know. It's amazing. And then they call themselves people who follow Jesus. Be for real. All right, let's continue. Para ver. Paul Fleming says, NPR. The suit alleges that Musk and his super PAC are luring voters to give up identifying information in pursuit of a cash prize. DA Larry Krasner calls the scheme indisputably an unlawful lottery. I'm glad he says that. Now we need to lock him up, right? That's what they would like to say, right? Lock him up. Lee Grant, Kamala won't go on Rogan. I don't know that if I were Kamala, I don't know that I would go on Rogan. For what? Rogan has a lot of bros that's there. These are not, I'll be frank, okay? Let me be very frank. I don't think the listener that the people that listens to, first of all, there is a segment, I don't know, of American population that listen to Rogan. But I don't know what percentage of that population is changeable because these are pig-headed, machismo type guys that don't have learned to not critically think. A one appearance on Grogan is not going to lay the groundwork necessary to educate those folks. So if I were Kamala, I would not go on Grogan. I don't know if she's going to or not, but I wouldn't. It makes no sense because all it will do is allow them to twist her words without her having enough time to fix the lies and misinformation. I would leave Grogan alone because, again, he has a lot of bros that are going to be listening, and it would do her absolutely no good to talk to people who need a lot more mental training, if you will, mental acuity. Paul Fleming says Trump's Madison Square Garden rally showed how racism is the beating heart of election denial. Not only that, it shows you who MAGA really is, the underlying nature of MAGA. You know what? They want to say, oh, that was the comedian who did that. Everything that was said on stage by these third parties are vetted and in the teleprompter. They are vetted and are in the teleprompter. What Trump wants to do, he knows a large percentage of his MAGA base are racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, misogynist. He knows that. And he needs to keep them fed, to keep them wanting to come. Because he believes if he throws out that racist red meat, what he can then do is say, but that's not me. I don't mean that. That's not me. That's not me. Right? And then he continue to keep the feeble-minded other folks that are going to vote for him. Again, it's a game that he plays that has never, ever worked. Let's get it straight. The game that Trump is playing has never, ever worked. He has never won the majority of the American people. Like I've told many people listening, most American people are good. And let me tell you who the real swing vote's going to be this election. It's not going to be black men. It's not going to be black women. It's not going to be white men. It's going to be white women, Republicans. That is the swing vote. And if the numbers stay as they are in Arizona, where more Republicans are voting than Democrats, and the Republican women that are voting in plurality for Kamala Harris, it seems like my theory just may be right. We'll know that, I believe, fairly early on Tuesday on election day. Welcome aboard Tom C. from Michigan. He says, if it walks like a duck but then does the goose step, it's not a duck. It's a Nazi. Hey, that's right, Tom. Hey, Tom, where am I going to get a limerick that puts all of that together? I know you have it in the back of your head already. That limerick, I know you got it in the back of your head, Tom C. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul said, in case you missed a day in U.S. history, Puerto Ricans have been U.S. citizens since 1917 and can move freely between the archipelago and the mainland. So there's that. I was talking to a Panamanian brother today about the electoral college, gerrymandering, and these sort of issues, and he was saying, like, why don't we know that? And I'm like, the idea is that they don't want you to know it. Yes, folks. Thank you, James Calabresi. Please encourage folks to subscribe not only to the channel, but I'd love for you to subscribe to our newsletter. And what I'm going to do right now in the chat, since you opened the door, my dear brother James Calabresi, is tell you how you can sign up for a newsletter right now. Of course, you can. The newsletter, I'm asking those of you who have the ability to do so to please subscribe to the paid version of the newsletter. You get to read all of my books, all 5 of them, online on the platform. So consider going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. But You can also subscribe to the channel, which I'd love everybody to do as well. All right, folks. Thank you, James Calabresi, for introducing that. Anyway, so yeah, we have a lot to talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about today is traditional Medicare Advantage. And you'll see me talk a lot about Medicare Advantage, Medicare in the next few days up until December 7th, because right now a lot of people are getting conned into taking out Medicare Advantage as opposed to Medicare traditional Medicare. So to all of you out there who have the ability to do so, whenever you're getting your Medicare, first of all, if you have Medicare right now, the traditional Medicare, everybody and their mother, all the thugs in the insurance companies are going to be calling you every day. They're going to be showing you ads every day to try to convince you to lower your costs by going to Medicare Advantage. Don't fall for it. If you are comfortable with traditional Medicare, with your what's called your Medigap, also called a supplemental, do not change anything. You don't have to renew that every year, etc. The reason why Medicare Advantage is required to be renewed every year, and a friend of mine said, Egberto, I don't have to renew every year. It auto-renews. My sister, that means you renew every year. And that means if that policy goes away, you will have to find another policy. At any time a particular group loses money, what do you think happens? They put you in another group and likely have to find more doctors, etc., etc. Medicare Advantage is a scam. There are some people that is the only thing they can afford, and I understand that. But please don't make it easy for our government by allowing the private sector to con enough people away from their traditional Medicare to go into the private sector and then allow them to run our healthcare system and screw our healthcare system like they've screwed our healthcare system with traditional private insurance. We can't allow that. Private healthcare, private health insurance is the biggest scam on the market today. But let me play a segment that I kind of encapsulated from my show this morning at KPFT on traditional Medicare. I'm watching the TV, and between now and December 7th, I got to jump on the Medicare Advantage thing again. I'm watching this ad, and as I'm watching this ad, I'm getting more and more upset because I care about people. I genuinely, and all of us should care about our fellow persons, right? And this ad, there's a new site out that all these companies that give Medicare Advantage are using to centralize choosing the product. And you sit down and you call that number, and that number goes through not Medicare. It goes through a list of hundreds of, well, I don't know if it's hundreds, probably so, hundreds of different Medicare Advantage options to select for you based on what medicines you're taking and what things you need, etc.
Have you compared your Medicare plan recently? With eHealth, you can compare Medicare plans side by side for free. So we invited people to give eHealth a try and discover how easy it can be to find your Medicare match.
This is pretty amazing.
I can go on a vacation with this money.
I have quite a few prescriptions.
That's why people call us. We're going to compare plans, and I'm going to try to get you as much bang for your buck as possible.
That's great.
This one here covers all your prescriptions, your doctors as well.
Oh, wonderful.
I have a hard time with this.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for. Based on our conversation today, I would highly recommend this plan.
You're so helpful. You don't know.
I'm excited for you, sir. Again, my name is Cham. If you have any other questions, give me a ring.
Thank you very much.
And all people over 65 are calling in, many of them giving up their traditional Medicare because this plan sounds cheaper. The other plan sounds cheaper. And I'm pulling the hair out of my head that I don't have. I'm bald-headed. By the way, we're on YouTube as well, so you can see I'm bald-headed and pulling my... I don't even have stubs right now. I shaved well yesterday. But look, brothers and sisters, I got a long email from a dear friend yesterday, and she told me, she said, Egberto, I was on Medicare Advantage, and I'm going back to Medicare's traditional Medicare and the supplemental, the Medigap. And she said, I'm doing that because the specialist that I want to see, I couldn't do it with Medicare Advantage. But she said, you must understand, and you must tell. She's a very smart woman. And she said, you must understand that there are some people who simply can't afford traditional Medicare because they can't afford the supplemental. And I understand that. I understand that they've put us between a rock and a hard place. But there are a lot of us who can afford the Medigap program the Medigap piece of, to get traditional Medicare, the part that pays 20%. But many of us are enticed by, hey, I can save this money. Why not? Okay. And that is what these companies bank on, that even though you can afford your Medigap plan just fine, in order to give you choices. They like to talk about, I have some folks in the chat that would say, well, private systems give you choices. It always says choice of slave master. Because when you have the one choice, which is Medicare provided by the government, guess what? You get the choice of which doctor you want to see, not which doctor is on your network, but which doctor you absolutely want to see. Which medicine your doctor prescribed to you, not which medicines are on the plan, not which hospitals are on the plan. You are the one making the choice when you are on traditional Medicare. And of course, when you get a Medigap plan that pays the 20% of that. And like I've mentioned before, a lot of folks would forgive that Medigap, that 20% because they so overcharge anyway. But remember, when you are, when you're getting your private insurance, the government is still paying for it. They're just paying a premium to those private companies. And you know what is a dirty little secret? Medicare Advantage costs more than traditional Medicare to your government, to your taxes, because they pay those private sector people more than it costs the Medicare system. And that money goes straight into the pockets of the CEOs, the CFOs, the shareholders, and the salespeople that are trying to convince you to get a substandard healthcare plan, one where they are your masters and tell you who you can see, which medicines you can take, which hospitals you can go to. So which master do you want? Do you want the plan that gives you all choices, or do you want to choose from who will enslave you? And like I said, I do understand that financial situations can force some people into having to take that Advantage plan. But let me tell you what the caveat is. Not the caveat. Let me tell you where we are at that. All of the organizations that I work with, I'm talking about the 501c3s and C4s and other types of organizations. Neil Aquino, who's with the Houston Democracy Project and other organizations. What we are doing is promoting healthcare for all, which would ultimately make Advantage moot and also will make sure to take care of that 20%. If we simply got rid of Medicare Advantage, listen to this, good folks, the waste in Medicare Advantage, there's this theory out there that the private sector is more efficient than the public sector. That is the biggest lie on the planet. And if you want the perfect example of that, and don't laugh when I say it, ask me to prove it. The Postal Service versus the private FedEx, UPS, DHL, or any of the others. Ask to prove it. Even though the Postal Service pays better wages, let's talk about efficiency. They are still more efficient than every single private freight company. Every single one of them. It's never true that for profit can be more efficient than a non-profit. It's a mathematical impossibility. Does that mean that I want non-profits running everything? Absolutely not. I like choices. But where it comes to healthcare, when it comes to delivery, when it comes to utilities, where it comes to the things that are of absolute necessity to humanity, there should not be an ultimate or, an ultimate for profit reason. And that goes as well with healthcare. And that's why one of our major issues, major things that we're working towards are things like healthcare for all, to get rid of the fraud that is the Medicare Advantage and private sector health insurance. And that is the truth. And I mean that from the depths of my heart. The biggest fraud on Americans are the health insurance sector, both for Medicare Advantage for people that are over 65, as well as traditional basic private health insurance. It is one of the biggest frauds on the market. One of the reasons we are extorted out of our monies continually in the United States of America, where everywhere else you can get better pricing on your thing. Paul Fleming says the fate of Rudy Giuliani's $3.5 million Palm Beach house is under his primary residence. Whoops, we got a call in. Brother Patrick Magner, let me put you on the right system before you speak so that I don't get some feedback here. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing fine. Talk to me.
I want to let you know that as soon as your video on Medicaid came up, my YouTube was interrupted with a eHealth.com ad for Medicaid.
You see what I'm saying? You see how they operate?
Yeah.
That is what they do.
Obviously, somebody's listening in.
Yeah.
And you talked about Joe Rogan a little bit earlier. I used to respect him, and I used to get some information from him. But I watched his initial coverage of COVID was genuine. He was concerned. He was putting out a lot of information that would have helped people, and he realized that his fan base didn't like that. Yeah. And he stopped doing it. Yeah. And he contradicted himself, and he started putting people at risk to keep his ratings.
Yeah,
So
he even started that stuff. Yeah, he even started it, Patrick. You remember when they had that stuff, the horse thing that a lot of people were taking? He didn't come out and say, no, that is killing people. You're so right, sir.
But yeah. I wouldn't trust him. He's an entertainer. He's not a teacher. To switch up topics again, you might have already seen it or talked about it, but there's a couple of different organizations that just recently did a blind polling of Trump's policies and Kamala's policies. They didn't let them know who is who, and the favorability for Kamala was over 85%. Right. And both organizations, and Trump's was around 40. Both organizations, the only thing they could come up with was her gender and her race.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, but it's not only her gender and her race, but it's how the media covers her compared to Trump. If when they constantly put out stories like people don't know her, people don't know what she stands for. Here you just explained, and I did see one of those reports where they prefer her policies her policies to Trump's policies. Imagine if all the news networks came out instead of saying America doesn't know her. Imagine if we told the news media, do your job. She has a plan. He has a plan. You give the news. The first time you hear that, put that out in the news. I mean, all of that is
the concept of a plan.
Right. It's new. You know what's so funny, Patrick? What you just gave was news, right? So we are covering it right now. We're covering that her plans are better, but we only get to 25, 30,000 people, let's say, every week or so. Well, I got lucky this week. One video of mine got something like a 50-something thousand view the first day. But what I'm saying is the news media is partially. Let's give an example. She's going to be at the what's the name of that park she's going to be at tonight? Whatever the park is called. but she's the same place that Trump started the insurrection. Trump started to attempt the coup. And you know what? Katie Tur said, oh, some people are saying, don't everybody know what happened there already? Shouldn't she maybe be somewhere else instead of going there to make her case? And finally, one of the hosts said, all the people that you're talking to are hacks. Nobody ever talks about Trump repeating the same thing over and over to make it stick. But when she does it, that she wants something to stick, maybe she should do this. Maybe she should do that. Maybe, look, it's not only that a lot of people themselves are racist, misogynist, sexist. We know that. A particular percentage of the bros, as well as some women, that's who they are. But also, the media has to do its job, because it seems that the media themselves, that's who they are. But then again, they're a reflection of who we are. Anything else, Patrick?
Well, I wouldn't say they're a reflection of who we are. They're maybe a small portion. That they used to have a job that was regulated, and they were supposed to educate, and
right.
Those rules were taken off. And I guess we don't need to remind people which party that was that removed all those.
Yeah, I think it was. I forgot what they called that rule, where every side had to get an opportunity to. There was a name for it. I can't remember right now, but yeah, you're right about that. Anything else before I go to the other video?
No, that's it. Looking forward to the video.
Thank you very much. It's what I don't know if you came to the show this morning, but it's the second part. I cleaned it up a bit from this morning, but we'll play it in a little bit. Fear and Its Doctrine. Thank you very much, Michael Rudnin. It was the Fear and Its Doctrine. Thank you, Patrick. We'll talk later. Anyway, folks, before I move on the subject, if there's anybody wants to talk about what I spoke about Medicare Advantage, please feel free to give me a call at 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. CSAC says ivermectin plus vitamin D and a few other things saved Joe Rogan and tens of thousands of other people in your dreams. There's something called science. And the science did all kind of double-blinded studies that proved that that's hogwash. Ivermectin did not work. That horse medicine simply did not work. And Joe Rogan can say as he pleases to please his audience, as Michael just pointed out, that was wrong. Now, as far as should Kamala do Rogan? No, she should not do it at all. But who knows? She may go ahead and do it anyway, but I hope she doesn't. I think it's a negative, and I think she runs a risk of them taking clips from him and him bending the clips in such a manner that it completely misrepresents her. So if anybody from her campaign is listening to this lowly, small media program, Kamala, don't do it. Welcome aboard, May Wood from Long Beach, California. Welcome to the Politics Done Right. Let's see what else I have before I go to the screen. Let's see. Fact, Paul Fleming, unemployment has now been under 4% for 2 years for the first time since 1960. That means it actually outstripped Donald Trump, who says he had the best economy. Of course he didn't. Not even close to the best economy, as I proved to you guys several times already. He does not have the best economy. All right, let's talk a little bit about billionaires and a little bit more about our economy.
Yesterday was pretty good. I couldn't make much out of today's stuff. So Nobel Prize winning economists endorse Harris' economic plan over Trump's. Harris's policies get strong support from economists for providing tax relief and support for the middle and low-income families. Trump's tax cuts are Robin Hood in reverse, robbing from the poor to give to the rich.
Amen.
Robbing from the poor to give to the rich.
Well, put your hand on the radio and be healed.
You know, a lot of times when we say things like that, it sounds like cliche, right? But I was going to do it this morning, but I kind of put it off till today Steve Radner did the actual numerical analysis to show what things look like. And, these aren't, some things are stats, some things are fact, right? You can kind of play with stats all around, but there are certain things that are facts. And I think what Steve Radner did was he actually mixed the two of them together, the stat part and the fact part. And when you put the stat part and the fact part together, it start the differences you would get. There is something interesting before I really get into what we want to talk about, and that is whenever you look at when the economy does best, and this is part of the things that we can talk about, facts, right? The economy, by a huge margin, does better when Democrats are in control than Republicans. I am not trying to tell you who to vote for. I can't tell you who to vote for anything from a station like this. Now, about my 3 o'clock program, I'll be telling you a whole lot more stuff. But here is what I can tell you. It's a statement of fact that the economy does better under Democrats. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is also how our economic system works. And it works by something called the speed of money. In other words, if we have money circulating like crazy, there's more economic activity. If you have less money circulating, there's less money, there's less economic activity. If you make $500 a month and I give you $50, that $50 is a big part of your income, of your disposable income, and you're likely to spend that right away to go to a movie, pay a bill, but go ahead and buy an extra meal or something. Take your wife out for a night out that you would not have otherwise had. Not $50 anymore. I tell you, it used to be you could do it for $50. You can't do it anymore. But anyhow, you get the point. And what that does is that restaurant gets more business. If that restaurant gets more business, it has to go buy more bread. It has to go buy more lettuce. It has to go buy more of all those things. And whenever it buys more lettuce, the farmer makes more money. If the farmer makes more money, he has to go buy more tractors. If he buys more tractors and sells more lettuce, he has to buy more fertilizer. All of that works great, right? So if you don't hoard money, if you allow money to flow, the economy is broad-based and a lot of people do well. But if you hoard money vis-a-vis tax cuts and give people monies that are unearned, capital gains that occur not because of the intrinsic growth of a company, but because, you buy back stocks, etc. What that does is it puts money into the hands of people who already had a whole lot of money. And if I have $1 million and you give me $100,000, I'm not going to put that $100,000 into the economy. I just have to put that into the bank because that has no impact on my spending capability or how I would otherwise spend my money. So I would not go ahead and throw an extra $100,000 into the economy. If I gave that $100,000 to 100 people, all of those people would likely put that money into the economy, and that is called economic activity, economic expansion. It's not rocket science, right? But the difference is selfishness means you hoard, right? You take it all. After you make your first billion, nobody's earned $1 billion, but after you've gotten your first, I should say after you make your first billion, I should say after you've acquired your first billion. Of course, generally on the backs of many others. What else can you do? What else do you want? You see, there is something that is wrong with being able to acquire that money and do whatever you want with that money. And that brings us to something that Elon Musk is doing. He's getting sued for it now, of course. And Anne spoke about it yesterday when she called into the program. She asked, is it legal for Elon Musk to start giving away millions of dollars to sort of buy your vote? Well, no. But again, I want you to see that we have an economic system that awards people, allow folks to make billions of dollars on other people's backs, and then use the money that they've made on other people's backs to control the means of production, control the governmental structures, and control your mind via the media, via the churches, via the schools. I mean, if you are part of that fraternity, lucky you, right? If you're part of that fraternity, which is a very small fraternity, that's good. But what we have to do, because most of us don't understand it, when I see people crying and begging and standing up for Donald Trump and defending Donald Trump and, like he needs our defense, right? I sit down there and says, who defends you? Who makes sure that you have what you need? Who makes sure that you are made whole? We have, by the way, welcome aboard Eric Hayes in the chat. Welcome aboard Persuasive Barrier in the chat. We have Eric here defending the billionaire, right? The billionaires don't give a damn about Eric. In fact, they don't care whether Eric is successful or not, even as they're using Eric's skills, whatever they may be. But he's there defending. That is what we know as psychological. I don't want to quite call it brainwashing because it's more sophisticated than brainwashing, And one of the things we want to accomplish here is simply for people to think on their own. For simply people ask the right questions. Simply ask the question and then try to find the real answer devoid of ideology. And it's not hard to do that.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely join us, folks. Please join us. All right. It seems like Mike Zarnick has a limerick. Let me get to Mike Zarnick's limerick first, and then I'll get to a piece that Brother Rudnin once read, which I think it's an important piece. But anyway, let's go with the limerick. I was waiting on the limerick, Brother Zarnick. Here it goes. Senior folks getting lots of media ads these days for Medicare Advantage. Slick salesmen trying to sell you a healthcare plan they supposedly manage. But be careful before it's too late. The freebies they offer are just bait for a plan you'll eventually hate when you're seriously ill and they offer you only a bandage. My God, that's a good one. When did you write that one? Did you just come up with that one, or were you prepared for a Medicare Advantage one? Tom C? I'm curious because that one fits the moment. That one fits the moment. And I'm going to recite it into a TikTok. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's a good one. Courtesy of Politics Done Right, Poet Laureate Tom Zarnick. All right, let's go to Brother Rudnin now. I'm going to have to copy this because it's a long one and it's going to scroll off. So here we go. Egberto, mind reading this out? No, sir. If you're going to do some research to educate our audience, I'm going to read it. And it goes like this. Mike C. doesn't care about precedent. The fairness doctrine was meant to keep the American public well informed and educated on controversial topics. Justice Byron White declared in 1959, a license permits broadcasting, but the licensee has no constitutional right to be the one who holds the license or monopolize a radio frequency to the exclusion of his fellow citizens. There is nothing in the First Amendment which prevents the government from requiring a licensee to share his frequency with others. It is the right of the viewers and listeners, not the right of the broadcasters, which is paramount. The court did not see how the fairness doctrine went against the First Amendment goal of creating an informed public. the fairness doctrine required that those who were talked about be given chance to respond on the statements made by broadcasters. The court believed that this helped create a more informed public. Justice White explained that without this doctrine, station owners would only have people on the air who agreed with their opinions. Throughout his opinion, Justice White argued that radio frequencies and by extension television stations should be used to educate listeners or viewers about controversial issues in a way that is fair and unbiased so they can create their own opinions. In 1969, the court ruled unanimously that the fairness doctrine was not only constitutional, but essential to democracy. The public airways should not just express the opinions of those who can pay for airtime. They must allow the electorate to be informed about all sides of controversial issues. That is what democracy looks like. And what we got is a continuation of an undemocratic Supreme Court. Very, very good Michael Rudnin. Very important one. Paul Fleming Sr. says, immigrants are 80% more likely to start a business than U.S.-born citizens. They're not taking jobs. They're creating jobs. In other words, they're job creators. Right on point, Tom C. Tom C. nailed it, didn't he? Yvette Avery Herod says that, which I agree with. Tom C. nailed it. All right. I got another video. This one here is from Chris Christie. Okay. Chris Christie and his opinion. I want you to say this because I think he nailed it here. Though some people on Daily Kos weren't quite happy with it. Check it out. You have to wonder if Donald Trump has something on Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham, because as it turns out, Lindsey continues to go on national TV and make a fool of himself in the way he talks about Donald Trump, in the way he talks about Kamala Harris, in the way he compares them, that pretty much is nonsensical. The hyperboles that he uses kind of mimics what Trump does. Well, you know who called him out today? Former Republican governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie. And he called him out with his own words. And I tell you, if you listen to it, it makes Lindsey look even smaller. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
Chris, it's really something to see the race so close. If anything, Trump maybe with a slight lead here at this moment, even with all that we've seen. John Kelly coming out saying he praised Hitler, he called American heroes suckers and losers, that he's a textbook definition of a fascist. What'd you make of how Lindsey Graham defended him on that?
Well, you want to talk about textbook hypocrite. I mean, that's Lindsey. And let me just use his own words from the night of January 6th. He said, "Count me out. I've never been more humiliated and embarrassed for my country than with this president." Now, look, you can agree with Donald Trump on certain issues. I do. But if you believe that fundamentally he is an embarrassment and a humiliation to this country, how the hell did Lindsey Graham sit in that chair and look in that camera and say the things he said about Donald Trump this morning? This is why people hate politics, John, because they know that what Lindsey Graham said on the night of January 6th is what Lindsey Graham really believes. And by the way, you know it, and so does Donna. We on the inside know that's what he really thinks, yet he gets on this show and on that camera and gives a whole nother story. Well, I listened to him that night. I was watching that night. And I know Lindsey Graham, and I know Lindsey Graham when he's a friend of John McCain. So this is far beyond Lindsey Graham. I mean, we saw some amazing quotes from Mitch McConnell this week. He's just emblematic.
So you have a lot of these people, and McConnell's answer to the criticism he had given of Trump, which is harsher than what you just read from Lindsey Graham, is it pales in comparison to what J.D. Vance said about him. So this is across the board.
Well, look, it's emblematic of what Donald Trump has imposed upon these folks and what they've been willing to accept. I mean, the fact is they're scared. Lindsey Graham this morning, when you see a guy like Lindsey, who's been around for a long time, John, going back 30 years now, he's been in Washington, D.C., and when you see him yelling like he was yelling this morning, that's a guy who's scared. He's putting on a show for the one-man show in Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster, wherever he is this morning, watching this stuff. And real American people understand that if that's what you said on the night of January 6th, that's what's in your heart and what you believe.
Well, Chris Christie nailed it. Lindsey Graham, it's not only the statement that Lindsey Graham spoke about, but Lindsey has spoken about Donald Trump being all the negative things that we've called them before: homophobic, racist, xenophobic, all the different phobics that we've called him before. Lindsey has been one to do just that. And to watch how Lindsey sounded there, it's a prime shame. I think Chris Christie nailed it. And the other part that I think he nailed, I didn't put it in the video, is that it's probably time with these few more days left before the election for Kamala to go out there, VP Kamala Harris to go out there and start telling Americans, this is what I will be doing when I become president, and not be distracted by Donald Trump. Not be distracted by what he claims is wrong with her, what he claims he's done before. Let the surrogates already prove that Donald Trump never really had a great, successful economy, other than the economy that Obama left him. All he left us was what again? A disaster with the pandemic and the mishandling of the pandemic. Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Anyway, folks, guess what? President Bush, former President G.W. Bush's daughter, Barbara Bush, that's one of the twins, came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. But not only did she endorse her, but she's out there working the line for her, from what I understand, meeting a lot of her staff, etc. Let me tell you, I've been talking about a real turnaround, especially with a lot of Republicans. And I said, like I mentioned before, the swing vote in this election will be Republican white women. I repeat, Republican white women will be the swing. For a long time, white women have been voting against their interests. I don't know if I want to use the appropriate word, but they were one of the biggest sustainers of the patriarchy, right? And it seems like it is breaking. It seems like it is breaking, which is a very, very good thing. It's a very good thing. The new coalition that we're building, again, we have a lot of work to do with the MAGA cult, right? Those people who Trump can say whatever he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and still get elected. But again, the good thing is the tide is turning. I'm telling you, folks, I don't even think you're going to have to wait too long on election day to determine that Kamala Harris will be the next president, because her people are going to be going out to vote. Women are going to be going out to vote, and women are going out to vote. Women have saved this country many a times, and women will save this country again. Women will save this country again. Lee Grant says white Republican women would offer broad support to the Dems. Yeah, they will. They will offer quite a bit of support. And that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing. Because right now, the policies that most Americans say that they want are, in fact, the policies that progressives push. So let's get ready, folks. Now, after the win, we all have to be ready to challenge Miss Harris, unlike what we did with Obama, which was not the right thing to do. We've learned our lesson. and we will do better. Anyway, folks, I don't have any more material. The number is 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to call in, 281-823-7747. Want to call in with whatever subject you want to talk about, or if you want to throw it in the chat, but I'd love to have somebody call in on the line, 281-823-7747. Una vez más voy a hacerlo a 281-823-7747. You know what? I cleaned up my Spanish version to encourage my Latino brothers and sisters to vote appropriately. So since I don't have anybody calling in at this time, I'm going to play it. It's 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and then we'll close the show after this. So let me go with my Spanish notice, and then we'll continue. To my brothers Latinos, to my brother Latinos and my sister Latinas, I am going to speak to you Latino a Latino. ¿Qué diablo es lo que están pensando? Estas personas le están diciendo que son huevones. Le están diciendo que son fracasos. Le están diciendo todo eso. Le están diciendo que no tienes humanidad. Le están diciendo que eres basura. Y tú piensas que es ok para votar por gente, para estar con ellos y decirles que mira, yo soy maga, como si te importan. Ahora es tiempo para que se despiertan, porque te voy a decir algo. No importa si los demócratas no están ahí pidiendo tu voto. Lo único que sabemos es que los demócratas no hacen lo que hace MAGA ahí. Así que les digo algo, mis latinos aquí. Si votan por ese partido, si votan por Trump, si votan por cualquier de eso, lo que les van a pasar, porque cuando están deportando, no te piden, tiene los papeles, te recogen primeramente y después hacen la investigación, y te prometo que la mayoría de la investigación no será hecho en una forma legal y te votan. Y los que están naturalizados como yo, somos ciudadanos americanos. Pero te voy a decir algo. Aunque somos aquí legales como ciudadanos de los Estados Unidos, aunque somos así, te digo, nos votan porque lo que va a hacer Trump. La Corte Suprema le ha dado la permisión, le permite no seguir las leyes. Okay, my brothers and sisters, the reason I did that, I want to make sure and cut this out for my Latino brothers and sisters. I forgot one piece. Así que les voy a decir, mis hermanos, un voto para Trump es un voto para su fracaso, un voto para tu deportación. All right, folks. Anyway, let's get busy here. All right. That's good enough. Anyway, folks, I'm still taking calls. I still have a couple minutes. 281-823-7747. Again, that is 281-823-7747. Feel free to give me a call. Otherwise, I'll be shutting down in 30 seconds. But before I shut down, I forgot to do my ask. Please consider becoming paid subscribers of our newsletter. How do you do that? Simply go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you become a paid subscriber, remember you get to read all of my books. And which are all of my books? Here they are. You got It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. You can also get our book, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, or Journey Forward as I See It. class warfare the only resort to right-wing doom? Or how to make America utopia, take away the economy from those who rigged it. Anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.